Hi everyone. In this video I will demo a few basic options that you have to manipulate visualizer table. And for that we will use our absences page with the absences table. This is how it looks with the current settings. And we will do a few changes to that table. So let's go to the absences page. I'm on the page fields tab. Let's scroll down a little bit to the table section. And the first thing we see here is that we have three possible formats to display the information. The table is the default format, which is the one that we see right now. We can change it to a list, and it would look like that. Or we can change it to cards, which would be very similar, but with a bit different visuality. Here it is. Okay. The next thing we'll do, I'll get it back to the table, is go over this section. This section is the field section. We introduced it in a previous session. Here we add all the columns of the table. And one of the things I want to show you here is the option to make some of the columns sortable. So columns that are set as sortable, we would be able to sort the table by them. Let's refresh. And now if I click the end date or the type or the days, you can see the table will be sorted by these fields. On the data types, like we said on the previous session, we can change it from a read-only to an editable type. This will make the type editable. This will make, the table editable. However, working with editable table is a bit more complex, and we will have a separate session, a separate, more advanced session to demo how we can work with editable tables. Let's now go to the third section here on the table section part, the enable filtering. This goes to this field, the filtering field. We can decide whether we want it to be displayed or not. If it is displayed, then we can filter the table by any of the values that are on one of the rows. So if we will filter it by 13, it will only show the row with this value. We can filter it by any value that exists on the table. So this is how it works. The next option, add rows, goes also to editable tables. It enables us to add rows or delete rows on the table, and as I said, we will demo it on a separate session. The last option is the collapsible responsive. Right now, when the table includes more columns that it can be displayed on the device, we have an horizontal scroll. But there is another option to handle it, and this is the option of collapsible responsive. Let's save it. And if I will refresh it, it will look like this. So with this type of display, it will show only the columns that can fit the device with, and all the other ones will be here under a collapse expand section with this icon to collapse and expand it. And of course it will adjust itself to any width of any device. If the device has is more narrow to the other device, then it will show fewer columns, and the expand collapse will include more fields. So that goes to all the options and all the basic manipulations that we can do for the way the table is displayed. Now I would like to demo you how I can add some functionality to the table, and what I want to do is to add a functionality that once I'm clicking one of the rows here, it will navigate to a page that will display the details of this row. So in our system, it means that if I'm displaying this table, it means that once I will I will press one of the rows here, when I will select one of the rows, it will actually click on the view details here and get me back the details of this row. To do that, I needed to add a new service. I called it get absences details, and this service gets as one of its parameters the row index, because we need to know on which row to click, and it returns the details for this row. So how can I add it to my application? The first thing I would need to do is, of course, to add a new page to display these details. So I'll go back to the pages section and add a new page. We have already seen how we add new pages. And I don't want this page to be displayed in the menu, because I can't really navigate directly to it. I need to press or select specific row on the table to get into it, so I will uncheck the in menu. I will edit it and add the fields that I want to be displayed. I will take it from the service of the details. Here it is. And here are the fields. Let's keep it in this default format. And now let's go back to the absences page, and let's see how I can connect it to clicking on a table row. To do that, I will go to the page actions, and I have a special action that I can add, which is called on table click. This event is invoked when I click on specific table row, and here I can decide what I want it to do, and I would like it to call a custom function. Let's call it on row click. This will generate a function that gets the row number, the column number, and the details of this row. Let's ignore this section for now, it's not important for us. And what I want to do here is I want to call the service that gets the data. So let's go to services, call, and generate the service API. And on the service name, I would put my service, the new service, the get data service. And on success, I want it to navigate to the new page, which is absence details.html. Let's make sure this is the name. Yes. Okay. So, I also have here the failure function. Let's remove it and let's do nothing about it. Let's see what's the problem. Unnecessary column. That's it. Okay, so I have here my function, but something is missing because I'm calling this service, but there is an input, an imported input for this service, and this is the row index that I want to click on. So how do I add this input to this service? We will do that by setting a new entry to the session storage, an entry that the key would be the name of the input parameter and the value would be, of course, the requested value. We discussed that in a separate session where we explained how the visualizer is handling the binding between the fields and the services. If you didn't have the chance to see this video, please see it because it will make things much more clear for you. So to add or to set an input parameter to a service which is not a field that is rendered on the page, we go to the code assist, go to the storage object and select the set option. And here we will add the new parameters. So on the key, we will put the name of the parameter, and on the value we will put the value that we want to add to this parameter, and in our case it will be the row number, the one that we get here as the function parameter. So what we're doing right now is we are setting a new entry in the storage. We're setting for the key row index, which is the name of the input parameter for the service. the row number that we just selected on the table. And once it will be on the storage, then when the visualizer will invoke the service, it will take the value of the row index and send it as an input parameter. So let's save it and see how it looks like. I refresh the page. Clear the network tab so it will be easier to understand. And now I'll click on the second row, for example. And you can see here the invocation, and you can see here that the row index was 1. We are counting from 0. This would be row 0, this would be row 1. So the row index is 1. And it was also set on the session storage, as I can see. And since it was set on the session storage, then when the service was invoked, it took it from there and sent it as the requested parameter. And now I can see the values that were returned. So this is how you relate or how you implement a row click and invoke a service that needs the row number as part of its input parameters. Another thing that I want to show you is the option to add multiple actions to a table row. If you have a table that looks like this, and you have multiple actions that you can perform or execute on a row, like editing the row, deleting the row, etc., and you want to have the same behavior on our table, on the visualizer table, we have a special option that will help you with that. And to add it, we will get back to the page fields step. We'll get here to the fields list, and we will add a special column called actions. We need to give it a name. And it will be generated as the last column, but we can move it to be, for example, the third column. And now we need to add the actions that we want to have on it. So let's say that I will add an update action. I will choose a nice icon for it. Edit, for example. We can change the color if we want. Let it be orange. Then we will have another another action called delete and give it another icon. Let's give it a red color, for example, and save it. So now I have an action column. We'll see in a minute how it looks like. And I would obviously want to add some business logic to it, so I will get to the page actions. And here I can see that the visualizer generated two functions for me, one that will be invoked on clicking the update action, and one for the delete. And it also passes as a parameter the row index that was clicked. So just to demo it and just to show that I'm on the right place, I will add here an alert saying updating row and put here the row index. And here I will put delete row, just to make sure that I'm clicking on the right actions. And now let's see how it looks on my table. So here are the icons. Here is the action column that I've added. And if I press, for example, this edit icon, I will see here updating row number 2 because it starts from 0, so this is 0, 1, 2. And if I will click on the trash can, it will be delete row. And of course I can put here any business logic that I want. I could implement in this way the get details that we have done in the previous step, and by clicking the row we could do it with an action column. We could add here another icon, and when we click it we could invoke the service and navigate to the details page. So this is the way to add multiple actions on a table row. Thank you.